Let's bring in NBC News International correspondent Molly Hunter and former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor. He's a distinguished fellow at the Atlantic Council. Molly, U.S. officials met with the Ukrainians first, now the Russians. What do we know about these discussions today?
Yeah, Anna, good morning. And I'm not sure we're going to learn any kind of real hard specifics outside of what U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff said in that interview with Fox about this real progress being made. I do want to just make the point for our audience that as these talks are getting underway in the opulent, the very glitzy Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the war is still going on. Just in the last couple of hours, there's been a Russian attack on the town of Sumy, Anna. That's in the northeast of the country. 28 people, including 4 children, have been injured. But just at the stage in Riyadh yesterday, you mentioned those talks between the Ukrainians and the U.S. According to the Ukrainian defense minister, he called them constructive and meaningful. And then a Ukraine news agency today is quoting an advisor who says, we just have to understand that the meetings will be quite regular and not every meeting ends with public statements. So kind of slow rolling the fact that they may see kind of real progress or big time announcements today. And today, the U.S. and Russia are meeting. The U.S. is painting a rosy picture. You heard that from Steve Witkoff. You also heard that from President Trump over the weekend. He was giving an interview on Saturday. Take a listen. I'll talk to you on the back end.
I don't think there's anybody in the world that could have stopped him except me, and I hope I'm going to be able to stop him. That's some very rational discussions. And I just want to see the people stop getting killed.
Steve Witkoff is definitely echoing his boss's optimism with his real progress comment. Now, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, we've heard from, who says we are only at the beginning of the path, not dissimilar, of course, to his Ukrainian counterparts are saying, look, this is going to be a process. It's going to require a bunch of meetings to get to that real progress. And the focus today, as U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff said, is on the Black Sea. Why that matters, Anna, is that is a place where Russia exports a lot of grain and fertilizer from Ukraine. Ukraine, however, really wants to see guarantees that that shipping channel will be safe for its ships. Anna?
Molly Hunter, thank you for that reporting, as always. Keep us posted if there's any news that develops here in the next half hour during our show. Ambassador, that sound we just heard, President Trump saying he's the only one in the world who can stop Putin. Do you think there's any truth to that or simply wishful thinking?
So, Anna, that may be true. That may be true. President Trump has gotten President Putin to come to the table. President Putin before this has been saying there's nothing to negotiate. I'm doing well on the battlefield. I'm not going to negotiate. Now he's saying he's going to come to the table. He's got caveats. Basically, Putin's caveats are that he wants Ukraine to capitulate. And that's clearly not going to happen. But President Trump has agreed with President Zelensky of Ukraine they were trying for a full ceasefire. President Putin resisted. And so now they're just talking about a ceasefire against the energy infrastructure. And as you've just indicated, Molly just said, they're talking about the Black Sea. But what they really need to get to, of course, is the broader ceasefire that President Trump and President Zelensky had tried to push on to President Putin, and he resisted. But President Trump can put pressure on Putin to come to the table.
I want to play part of what Special Envoy Witkoff said about Putin's motives yesterday. Here's that part.
I just don't see that he wants to take all of Europe. This is a much different situation than it was in World War II. In World War II, there was no NATO. So you have countries that are armed there. To me, it just does. I take him at his word in this sense. So, and I think the Europeans are beginning to come to that belief, too.
Take Putin at his word, and Europe shouldn't be worried?
Europeans are very worried, very, very worried, Anna. And you can talk to those countries, talk to people from those countries that are living next to the Russians, and they're very worried. In particular, the Estonians and Latvians and the Finns. The Finns have fought the Russians before. They know what the problem is there, so they are taking it very seriously. And it is certainly true that there is NATO now, and NATO needs to be strengthened and reinforced. And so that NATO can stop Russia. Going back to what President Trump said, he said he's going to stop Putin. That's important. And he can stop Putin if he puts pressure on him. Putin, of course, wants to rejoin polite society, the society of civilized nations. And only President Trump can do that. But President Trump doesn't have to do that if he wants to bring President Putin to the table. Those are the cards that he's got.
Interesting. Witkoff is not part of these talks in Saudi Arabia. Neither is National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Similarly, Trump's special envoy to Ukraine, General Keith Kellogg, was not part of the talks with Ukrainians yesterday. Instead, it's lesser-known officials from the National Security Council, the State Department, leading these talks from the U.S. side. What do you make of that decision?
So that indicates that what people have said, that is, these are technical talks. These are technical decisions, agreements on how to implement this first phase. Again, the first phase is on energy infrastructure, ceasefire against energy infrastructure. And there's a technical issue, a bunch of technical issues that will implement that. Then, if they can resolve those, then they can go on, as you've said, Molly said, to the sea, to the Black Sea. But these are not high-level talks, and Molly's also right. We're probably not looking at big announcements coming out of these today. This is a step-by-step process.
Ambassador Bill Taylor, thank you so much for being here.